Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jodi Moscona. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm back. I know you've been enjoying Dina taking over the show for a while, and hopefully we'll be able to bounce back and forth and you'll have the experience of both of us hosting the show. Today I am just filled with the Holy Spirit. I'm so energized. I just can't hardly express the feeling I have. I have special guests. What you have to know is that we just returned from a 10-day pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and I have two of my new best friends who were on the pilgrimage with me, and it's so exciting to have Traci, Ezell, and Kelly Naquin Anderson, who is actually on our finance committee at the church with me. So it's so exciting. Have y'all come down?
Not yet.
No,
Not yet.
Not at all. I'm a different person.
Yes.
So just by way of background, Father Eric Guyan was our pastor for many years at St. Teresa, and although he was transferred to St. Jean Vianney, before he was transferred, he set up this pilgrimage, and he went on the pilgrimage with us. So it was kind of like a good way to end his pastorate for all of us. Most of us were from St. Teresa. We did have some people that joined us from other parishes, but what a wonderful experience.
It was fantastic.
So let me just say, first of all, we bonded in a special way, the 35 of us.
Yes.
We do. There's so many conversations about Bible study groups or getting together to review. We had one person in the group who was our note taker, and we fully anticipate reading those notes to put us back into that, and that'll bring us back together in person as well to just relive it to each account.
Absolutely. So let me just go back and say, what made you decide to go?
Well, I've been hungry to grow in my faith for a while, and it's one of these things where you think, oh, one day I'd like to go to the Holy Land. But then having it presented in front of you to be able to go with your church on a guided pilgrimage, I wouldn't know how to put that trip together. And so I felt compelled. It was like, I better sign up now. I don't want it to fill up. How quickly can I get my reservation in? And I asked my mom if she would be interested to go. She's 75. And she said yes. And it's like, if not now, then when? So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, what an experience to share it with your mom.
Yes. I'm so grateful for that.
And Traci and your husband went, same thing, I guess?
Yes, Ron and I got back from our 2022 vacation, and we're deciding where to go, and went to church, and the Holy Spirit brought our answer to us. When he announced that he was going, we looked at each other, and there was no doubt that, like Kelly said, it's been a bucket list item, and just to deepen your faith, to be in the place where Jesus was just a fantastic, everything we expected it to be.
So let's let you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, just a couple of seconds,
Sure. My name's Kelly Naquin Anderson. I'm a parishioner at St. Teresa in Gonzales. Have been going there since about 2009, after really being away from the church for a while through the college years and all of that. But really, probably the last maybe 5 to 7 have deepened by going to the classes that Father Eric would offer. And I'm just, the more I go, the more I yearn. And so that's just a little bit about me.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
That's it. Perfect.
Okay.
I'm Traci Ezell. My husband Ron and I are Cradle Catholics. We moved to Ascension Parish back in 1995 and have been members of St. Teresa ever since, raised our children going to St. Teresa School in St. Michael's. So just get involved as much as we can. And this was just a great opportunity, as you said, to say a farewell in such a great way to Father Eric.
Father Eric. We love him.
So just so everybody will know, I knew Kelly because she sits on the finance council for our parish, but I didn't know Traci at all. And her and Ron and I developed this relationship and we wound up being the business managers for the trip, which is another whole story because there's some business part of it. So let me just say that we went with Nativity Pilgrimage, which is an awesome organization, First Class. And Jacob there set us up with a fantastic guide and driver. But let's start with tell people how we left, like before dawn on a Monday morning.
2 a.m. to be specific. There was it started out with the, logistics of the trip. It was over a 24-hour journey due to the fact that, there were 35 pilgrims who made the trip, and it was, I'm sure Jacob had his hands full trying to get all 35 of us on the same flights and things like that. So, but we bonded with our layovers in New Orleans and as well as Chicago and things
Germany.
like that. So, but it was over 24 hours. But the journey there was filled with 35 people just eager and in full anticipation of what we were going to experience. So the bonds quickly, the trip quickly bonded us.
Yeah, everybody was open and warm and felt friendly right away because, and we all knew this was going to be a tough journey, but worth it. Yeah.
Very good. So we went to Chicago, to Munich, to Tel Aviv.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we got on another bus.
Then we got on another bus in Tel Aviv. So when we got there, they ushered us to the hotel. I mean, we were all kind of famished and tired and all that sort of stuff. So, but we had good accommodations.
Oh, very nice.
I did not realize, looking back at some of the pictures from the others in the group, we were that close to the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
And it was just, you had to look at the political, geographical aspects of the trip as well before you got into the, the Holy Land, the holy areas. And yes, they set us up in very good Christian-owned.
So that's a good point, Tracy. First of all, let's just say that so those that are watching will know this is a half an hour show. We're going to do a second show. So this is going to be more laying the foundation for the second show, which will be chock full of stuff about Jesus. All of what we're going to talk about is scripture. But let's talk about, you mentioned the geopolitical part of it. Takeaway about this thing going on over there? I'm leading you a little ways.
I'm blown away with, it was repeatedly emphasized to us that while the Vatican and Christian entities still own the holy sites, that just 20 years ago, a short period of time, it was a Christian, 85% Christian, and today it is only 12%. And
That's
is just
Bethlehem.
correct. And that is just amazing statistic in understanding that, while we are in South Louisiana, predominantly Catholic and religious area, that the birthplace of Christ is,
the Christian influence is diminishing.
They're forced out from persecution.
Right.
We don't face the same type of persecution where we're not maybe physically forced out. But if we're not careful, we could be pushed away as well.
Yeah. Let us first say that this was a pilgrimage. And Jacob always said this wasn't a vacation, it wasn't a tour, it was a pilgrimage. So the whole focus of our tour guide was to teach us the spiritual Christian foundation of our faith from this perspective. And Jacob says there are 4 gospels, but there really a 5th one. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and your visit. Because when you go there, you really create a new gospel for yourself in reality.
Yes. And it very much felt as though it was a pilgrimage. It was certainly not, the tourist type of vacation that some of us are so used to. You felt immersed, in the religious aspects.
At the same time, we did still have fun.
Oh,
you
we
know?
did. Yeah.
But you had dedicated reflection, prayer time at all of the places, which was so necessary because otherwise it's just overwhelming. And then we were able to come back together, and that was really neat, I thought.
And we said Mass at all the holy sites. We'll talk
Yes.
about that as we move along, which was kind of a magnet that brought us together at these different places. So when I got back, people said, well, what was like your one takeaway? And I always said, well, there was two. The first was what you just mentioned, that Bethlehem was 85% Christian 20 years ago. It's now 12. The reality of what the Christians are dealing with there and how the ones that remain have dug their heels in to protect the Holy Land. It's just an incredible testament to their faith. And then the second was the whole story, which we'll get to, about where Jesus was scourged, the reality of how we don't understand. We've been taught the gospel, and it's true, but we lived it
Yes.
in a different kind of way.
Well, and heard things we hadn't heard before.
Right.
Absolutely. So, so if you were, we're going to come to the end of this segment, but if you were to encourage anybody to go, what would you tell them, Kelly?
I would tell them that you need to go. You need to experience it for yourself. We can share all of what we went through, but until you go, you won't know. It's created a fire and a hunger in me that I expected something. I didn't expect this. And so you owe it to your own growth and your own self and the people in your life to make the commitment and go.
As you both said, it deepens your faith. Being, a lifelong Catholic, you've heard, the Gospels over and over, and now having been there, having seen, different parts of the Mass and where they originated, I'll never hear parts of the Mass without bringing myself back to that. And it just deepens and it just solidifies my desire to incorporate, the Bible and Bible verses into my daily life. Rosaries or, apps, phone apps, and things like that. It was interesting. Right after the trip, as we know, part of the trip was visiting the Beatitudes. Mm-hmm. And after, my Bible verses for that week were the Beatitudes. So, I'll never be able to experience a Bible verse again without bringing myself back to the trip.
Hold on to that. We're going to take a short break. After the break, we're going to be right back and we're going to dive into the actual parts of the trip. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We are the fog on your glasses. We are the cup to go at breakfast. We are the answer to your deadline. We are closing the deal. But more than anything, we are never being out of coffee ever again. Never. We are River Road Coffees, and we're ready to prove that our coffee is better than whatever coffee you're drinking at the office. Call us today for a side-by-side taste test so you can get powered by River Road Coffees.
Hey, I'm Father Joshua Johnson. I am the Vocation Director for the Diocese of Baton Rouge. God our Father created each and every single one of us, you and I, for no other reason than because God desires for us to become saints. That is our primary vocation, to become a saint forever in the kingdom of heaven for all eternity with God. But for some of us, our path to becoming a saint is going to be through the state of life vocation of the priesthood of Jesus Christ. If you believe that God might be calling you, if you have a thought, hey, look, God might be inviting me to discern the priesthood of Jesus Christ as my path to becoming a saint, to help other people become saints in their walk toward eternity, then I want to invite you to reach out to me at our office Vocations here at the Diocese of Baton Rouge so that we can walk with each other. I can accompany you in your discernment, in your prayer, and learning more about the gift of the priesthood of Jesus Christ so that you can discern, is God inviting you to walk toward eternity as a priest of Jesus Christ.
Welcome back to Catholic Life. Thank you for staying with us. We're talking about an incredible pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and Traci, Ezell, and Kelly Naquin Anderson are with me. They were on the pilgrimage, my new best friends. And when we left, we were talking about the impact when you got back. We went to the Mount of Beatitudes, but we're going to get to that. That was the second day, right? Let's talk about the first day. I was just so incredibly impressed with how they did put the geopolitical, because the first place we went, you mentioned being on the Mediterranean. That whole Roman site was on the Mediterranean. Yes. We went to
Caesarea Maritima?
Yeah,
yes.
It was a Herod fortress, his palace, and
the gladiators.
Yeah, the arena.
The
yes.
arena.
Yes.
So, any takeaways from that?
It was interesting because you saw the modern day, but you also saw the remnants of what occurred, 2,000 and more years ago, the gladiator fights, the homes that they built for themselves and things like that. So you saw the primitive, the glimpses of the primitive, in which the modern day, you saw the import-export ships out in the
right,
sea.
In the sea.
Yeah, they were right there and everything. And coming from an industrial background, that was, just showing how it far advanced, or
the
different
Roman
areas.
Engineering was advanced, and it was Herod's house.
Right.
Yes.
One thing I thought that was really neat is they found that tablet, that sign that authenticates the New Testament, because it had Tiberius Caesar and Pontius Pilate on the sign. They had unearthed that, and that's the only thing that had put them at the same time.
Right.
And knowing the events and learning that was actually the capital. They would send Pontius Pilate to Jerusalem like as a security detail for the major holidays.
Right.
And so I never knew that,
right.
Just to get us, and that's where a lot of things occur even later in Caesarea Maritima in the New Testament, because it had been recently built. It was like the new big place, the new arena. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we spent the morning there, and then we went to Mount Carmel, which was pretty incredible. That's where the scapulars, the brown scapulars are, and we all got invested with the scapula, the brown scapula, and that was where you were mentioning Elijah challenged those other prophets of Baal. Right.
Yes. That's the whole scene where they have 400 something prophets
800,
of Baal,
wasn't it, or something?
And it's a lot. And so, he challenges them with a sacrifice for God to come down and burn it. And they're calling and calling and calling, and he never comes. He even has his wet, and then it does catch fire. And they all say, from my understanding, those that were worshiping Baal also worshiped the God of Israel, but they weren't just worshiping one God.
Yeah.
So that reminds me, I think, in our own life where we might get distracted by, we're followers of God and Jesus, but we have these other things that come in and take hold of us. So I think that was a good precursor. But we know who was triumphant in the end.
And there was a monastery there that we got to, that was the first one we got, like a holy site. I think we said Mass right there at the first one.
We did.
And then we left there and went to the other mountain, which wasn't too far away, which was that whole seaport of Haifa was just beautiful.
Yes.
And then there's the Stella Monastery.
Yeah,
that
and
was
the
there.
cave where Elijah and Elisha hid.
Right,
Yes,
because
Jezebel,
she was chasing him.
She was after them.
And by the way, that's where Elijah heard the whisper. God was not in the earthquake. God was not in the fire. God was in the whisper.
But then the cloud hand came down, and that's when he knew.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that was just an incredible precursor. It
really
put us in a spiritual place. We heard the nuns, the cloistered nuns, chanting in the background,
beautiful.
Which was just phenomenal. And then we took off and we headed for a little bus ride to the Sea of Galilee, which was just absolutely fantastic. And we went to Tiberias. And tell us about the hotel.
Our hotel was fantastic. It was on the Sea of Galilee, and
Yes.
all of us had entrances to their patio area, which was alongside. And for Jacob to set us up in that was just to wake up or to see the sunset and to wake up and see the sunrise
Right
on
from your window.
Yes,
right from
right
our
there.
window on the Sea of Galilee was just, awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
It set the tone for the day to get you eager to see what else, the area provided.
Yeah, knowing we were there. The swimming pool was quite nice as well. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really good.
And the dining was fantastic again.
And how many got to swim?
All of us.
To see Father Eric swimming in the Sea of Galilee, was just quite
Just amazing.
Yeah, we all got up early. Well, maybe not everybody, but some of us got up early for that sunrise.
Yeah.
And that was another great bonding moment,
Yeah.
And then we got on the bus and we headed for the Mount of the Beatitudes.
Yes.
Oh, we went to Cana, I think, huh?
Right after that, right?
Okay.
Yes. So those were two of Ron and I's favorites. Of course, being able to renew our wedding vows. We celebrated our 30th anniversary this year, so it was quite special to renew our vows at the Church of Cana, as all the couples did. Was quite special. And
lovely.
but being at the tomb of Jesus, being at the house of Cana, or the Church of Cana, brings a natural high. But one of our most favorite sites that Ron and I enjoyed was the Beatitudes. That was the site where they asked us to, we weren't going to have enough time to do all 8, to reflect upon all 8, but to choose one. And it was quite interesting, not to choose the obvious, but to be able to sit down on the cliff. You overlooked the whole valley. It was just serene and just holy and beautiful.
I think we might have gone to Cana first and then
Yeah,
Beatitudes.
that's
I
okay.
don't remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at my notes. I was trying to
Yeah,
figure out.
yeah.
But anyway,
Well, I wanted to add something about the
Go ahead.
Beatitude part. So I remember Tony, our guide, on the way there, one way that he put it, I've never heard it put like this, and I thought it was really helpful. It was like, go through, and he was talking about a story about his grades when he was younger and his dad, encouraging him to do his best. But going through the Beatitudes, and you don't have to be an AA plus in all of them, okay? Because I think that's what I've tended to think, how am I going to be all this?
all of these, yeah.
But go through them and maybe grade yourself and find the 1 or 2, or maybe you're great and you're more than that you would get an A in.
Yes.
So I thought that was a great way to reflect on that as we were going through that site ourselves.
That was just incredible to see all the couples renew their wedding
Yes,
vows. And,
lovely.
And it was, of course, we didn't get to do
Thanks
that.
to our
Our
matron
spouses
of
were
honor.
home.
Yes,
she
we
was the
had
matron.
flowers, yes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes.
It was
fun.
well played.
Yes.
And then we really were there 2 days, and the second day was when we did the mass on the
Yes.
boat, which was really incredible.
It's so powerful. And that was one of the things that there are so many people that have told us they would have loved to join us on the pilgrimage, but their fear of traveling abroad, just couldn't bring them. And many of us have a mutual friend who's going through some things right now, and we were in contact with her the night before, and she was very well with us, on that the boat with us. And that's what was just amazing by the trip, that not only were we able to go and form friendships with the 35, but we all brought our own intentions.
Yes.
And, definitely our friend was with us on that boat, and she felt the love back at home, knowing that, while she wasn't on the trip with us, she certainly was.
And in that area, we also saw the Transfiguration Mount.
Yes.
Yes, which was another whole experience where Jesus was with Moses and Elijah. And we had seen Elijah at the first day,
Yeah.
and then, it was pretty interesting.
On the Sea of Galilee, the Mass on the boat, for me, one of my favorite parts of the gospel is when they're on the boat and he calms the storm. Yeah. And I remember Jacob telling us before we went on the trip, when you're on that boat and you're having that Mass, that's let your fears go, And so, yeah, we were there. It all really fit for me,
Yeah.
you know. So that was incredible.
And y'all keep mentioning Tony, and Tony was our tour guide, and he was just an incredible person. He's an archaeologist, 25 plus years in Israeli intelligence. He's the patriarch of his family, living in a compound that's 800 years old. And when he tells you stories, it's firsthand.
Yes, very firsthand, very encyclopedia of details. You know, not only did he tell stories, but he gave such striking details about the stories that you felt, you know, his experience through him. And he was phenomenal.
He really was. And then he connected with all of us. And
He was our best friend when we left as well.
Yeah. Whether he likes it or not. Yeah, he's our friend for life.
And then, so we had this incredible 2 days on the Sea of Galilee, and that area of Galilee where Jesus had ministry, and so many different experiences that we each had there. And we kept looking forward to the bus ride after that because we were heading to Bethlehem. And one of the things geopolitically that you were saying, Traci, is when you go from Israel to the Palestinian area, you go through a checkpoint every time. And it's just incredible how you can tell the difference.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Israelis are so prideful of their area, take care of it. And on the Palestinian side, not so much.
The litter was just an instant reminder that you were in a different area.
Right. And so it was just an eye-opener about the difficulty that our Christian brothers and sisters over there live in, and makes us be resolved to take care of them.
And when we got to our Bethlehem hotel, the Christian owner, you know, was so prideful to both of his, you know, owner's hotel, but also of his area. And how many of us did he bring to the rooftop to just describe, this is the wall, this is that separates us, and this is the different characteristics of each area, of how the area has diminished in Christianity and things like that. So, but very prideful of his area that he chose to remain with his family.
Yeah. We're going to take we're going to end this segment. We're going to end this show, but we're going to do a second show, and we're going to come back and we're going to continue, okay?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us on Catholic Life. This is part 1. Part 2 is going to be the next show, and we're going to continue beyond the Sea of Galilee toward Bethlehem. So thank you so much for joining us today, and stay with us for the next one next week, because you're really going to be inspired by it. Till next time, God bless everyone.